welcome back to another segment of Veterans Update. We're so, glad to be here for a second show, and we have got some great footage for you.
Check it out.
Hi, welcome to Veterans Update. This is Teresa Ash. We are live today at the Mendota Heights in Minnesota. We're at the flagship golf tournament for the Teed Up for Troops. And we're here today with Rick Kelley, the artist, who has done some amazing things. What he's going to do is he's going to talk a little bit about his pictures and his prints. It is a windy day, so we have help here holding down the pictures. We've got some amazing pictures, and he's going to tell a story about some pictures. Rick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I've been an artist since I was 10 years old. Doing real well as wildlife, North American, African wildlife, and after 9/11 I came out with a print that kind of took the art market by storm, and it was surely an accident. It was called On Freedom's Wing, and a lot of people recognize it as either being a piece on a bereavement for funeral homes or greeting cards, or in the print format, which was introduced and a lot of media attention came out.
Do you have that print here?
I do. It's actually right behind me. It's, what it is basically is eagles soaring over a mountain, but the way the snow landed and the clouds casting a shadow on the top of the mountain formed the American flag with the stars and the stripes in it. And it was kind of a subtle rendition. I came up with the idea basically because everybody was looking for a flag after 9/11 and I couldn't find one, so I made my own.
Wow, that's really amazing. I see you have some a lot of different prints, and I want to go and pictures that you've done. I want to look at each one. We have a wonderful helper here, Dave, who's holding down the prints here. But we have a set that you have with this. Tell us about the set.
On Freedom's Wing was the first one I had done. The second one I did was Liberty's Flight, because it was all about the attack on our country, and it was about the Statue of Liberty. And what it is, essentially, is the Statue of Liberty camouflaged in the mountain with the flag, again, in the piece would be in the sky. But what I wanted to do with these pieces was I wanted to interlock them together. So what I did is I took the blank masonite that I paint on, put it up against On Freedom's Wing, and I continued the scenery from one end to the other, which a lot of people don't know, but the lines all line up. I think I've got these reversed wrong, but the lines on the left side of On Freedom's Wing come down onto the right side of Liberty's Flight. At the 1-year anniversary, I came out with Reflections of Freedom, and it came because of a lady who said to me, "You really should paint the towers." And I said, well, I really can't paint the towers, but then I had this thought. When the towers went down, there were 2 rays of light that were sent up into the sky. And essentially, we had already seen now in the last year all of the goodness, the unconditional love that came out of 9/11, the goodness that always comes out of a tragedy. Okay? So what I did is I created 2 rays of light, the ones that we sent up, but God sending them back down on us. And at the bottom, you have the American flag camouflaged in the reflection of the mountain. So it's his way of saying to us that he appreciates that unconditional love that we had. Interestingly enough, I started getting calls from all over the country because what I did without knowing it I didn't know it at all, was right here at the sky, it formed with the head and the wings the shape of an angel. So it's like the angel is delivering a message. And everybody started calling it divine. So not me, I'm very faithful in my Christian religion, but I didn't see it that way, but that's all right. I mean, it was very cool. So after 10 years, this is the 10th anniversary now of 9/11, we've seen a lot of changes. We've seen a lot of battles, we've seen a lot of wars, we've seen a lot of goodness, we've seen a lot of evil. But we've seen a lot of sacrifices, mostly. And to me, our freedom comes from those sacrifices. So ultimately what I wanted to do was try to capture everything into one painting, which is quite a job. Took me about 8 months, including several changes I had made in the painting to do so. But what it's all about is unconditional love and going beyond the call of duty, which in my opinion is what the world needs right now more than anything. You know, we can't count on anybody but ourselves to make the moves that it takes to care for each other. We got to quit relying on the government, relying on everybody else to make the move. We got to do it ourselves. So what I did is I created a painting of a soldier returning home. Very simple, okay? And try to capture the sacrifice that the soldier made or we have made throughout time. On the bottom of the painting, in the gravel road, I've got the words, "Our freedom comes not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God." Now, the original words was "Charity comes not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God." I changed the word to "freedom." But the words that followed that original statement were, "So ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." To me, that says it all. It's about us. What can we do? What can I do? Okay? I'm trying as hard as I can to do what I can do with my art. As the soldier's returning home, he looks over at the telephone pole and he sees a sign his daughter made. This is very typical, okay? With a yellow ribbon below it. It says, "In God we trust, I love you, Dad." I don't think any of us ever stop and think of what that would mean to a father. The man is wearing his deployment patch, which is 25th Infantry Airborne, okay? He doesn't see any of this, but it's there, and he feels it in his heart. The man he was deployed with is wearing the same deployment patch to the right-hand side over here. But he's there with the soldiers, policemen, and firemen of 9/11. And they're honoring him for fighting for what they died for. When you go to the top of the painting, you'll see the telephone poles going down to a town. You'll see 3 lines on one side and 1 on the other. As it goes down to the town, it meets at the center of the town, which typically is always where the church is, in the center of the town. It comes back up in 4 snow lines. At the end of the snow lines are 4 F-16s, one splitting off, so it's the missing man formation. You have the firemen raising the flag in front of the remnants of the towers of 9/11. The soldiers raising the flag at Iwo Jima. Mother Teresa. She gave her life to the poorest of the poor, her whole life. Martin Luther King gave his life for freedom. The Pentagon, where freedom is defended daily. I've got a very good friend of mine who was one of the first soldiers in the Pentagon when it was hit. And right below it, the ultimate sacrifice by a man who was on a business trip. Todd Beamer, Flight 93, and on the side of the plane it says, "Let's roll." At the end of it all, I went back to the On Freedom's Wing flag in the mountain and put the flag in the sky, and this time the eagle is flying over the sacrifice that was made in the name of God, country, and freedom.
These pictures, and the first time you and I met, you have a project that you want to do. Tell me about that project. Tell us why you want to do it, and tell us what you want to do.
Okay. First of all, because of that bereavement and finding out what had happened and how I'm actually making money off of, and I hate saying it this way, but soldiers dying. You know, it's like I said, what do you do with that? And I didn't know what to do with it. So I got thinking about it, and I thought, and this is before I started giving just the prints away to veterans. I can't afford to frame them all and do these kind of things. So initially what I did is I seeked out a way to try and help those families, and put together a project where I would send out 2 brochures to the, I hope that frame print doesn't go, send out 2 brochures to all the families who have lost soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it's about 5,500 now, okay? And give them their choice of any one of these 5 prints, these patriotic prints in the medium size, framed with a personalized nameplate on it, thanking them for that last measure of devotion given. That became, I thought it would be a very simple project. I had to find sponsorship for the framing because it's about $450,000 for the framing. And I'm getting the framing done just a little bit above the cost of materials, which is awesome. Then you got shipping on top of it all. And, I thought people would be jumping, to help out with that. 4 years. 4 years, nothing happened. I've been through the NFL. I've been through all kinds of different organizations trying to get it done, and I couldn't get it done. So I kind of gave it up and thought, well, it must be God's will, or it's just not right, for it to happen yet. And I waited. And then I ran into you, and I ran into JB with Tee It Up for the Troops, and we got talking and told you about the project and talked about the Patriot Guard. And now my goal seems to possibly have a reality. The Department of Defense will actually do the mailing for me. I even achieved a nonprofit status, and I've got a framer that can do these, and I think he told me in about a month he could get all 5,500 of them framed, which is amazing. What we plan to do is try to raise the money to do it and have the Patriot Guard hand deliver them to every family, which, what a glorious thing. This is supposed to be from the people of this country. My goal and the reason why I did this, I want to try and marry the people of this country with the people who gave their lives. I want those families to look at that piece of artwork and say somebody cares. I want to try and create that unconditional love and that going beyond the call of duty. Now, that's, like I said, that's my part to do it. But I want it to be not from me. I could be the catalyst or whatever, or the tool, but I want it to be from the people of this country as a thank you for that last measure of devotion given.
That's amazing. Absolutely, and it is an achievable goal. And I know that you and I and others are in the works to make that goal happen. Which picture is this that you're doing this with?
I don't know if you can see the ones down at the bottom, but it's Coming Home, the Patriot, which both have camouflage pieces in it, the Freedom Series, which is Reflections of Freedom, On Freedom's Wing, and Liberty's Flight. Their choice of any one of those 5.
Rick, all I can say is God bless you and thank you for absolutely everything you've done. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been an amazing adventure. Meeting Rick a few months ago and working with him and having these goals, it's a true blessing. Thanks for tuning in. Veterans Update. We'll see you again.
All right.
Lisa, this is, you know what? It is so awesome. You off when the cameras were off, you didn't see us. Lisa and I were laughing, and we really get along really well.
Yep, we do. That's a good thing too, because I don't know if this show would have the same dynamic.
So much fun. Oh my God, is the things that are out there for veterans just not amazing?
It is, and it's so good to be able to have somebody like you that knows who to contact, and somebody like me that bring in the younger veterans. And that's even, that's what we really need.
Oh, this is great. And you guys, that segment that you guys just saw, absolutely, the information that's out there and the resources that are out there. Always, Lisa, it amazes me when you show what we just showed, and then you talk to a veteran, young, old, female, it doesn't matter, and they say, wow, I didn't know.
Yeah.
How do we get that information out there?
Well, speaking of that information, why don't we cut to Tom Newman's 30, 60, 90?
Perfect.
All right.
Hello again. I'm Thomas Newman, Minnesota Department Service Officer for the American Legion, and I welcome you back to Veterans Update. And our segment, 30, 60, 90, your Veterans Benefits, Programs, and Services Information News Source on this program. My segments will be building upon one another, so if you catch today's show, please stay tuned for those that will be following in succession over future shows. Now, in the interest of laying a good foundation for the benefits I'll be talking about today, as well as those in future segments, I'd like to spend just a little bit of time to explain the structure of the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs. This is important stuff, and the information I'll be giving you, in my mind, I'm hoping that it'll help save you a lot of heartache and frustration down the road. It's information I kind of wish I had as I started the claims process myself. As a special note, although I'll primarily be highlighting the various benefits, the programs, and the services administered by the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs, I think it's important that we always remember that our complementary State Department of Veterans Affairs exists. There is a difference. You've got the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs, but you've also got a State Department of Veterans Affairs, local and unique to your own state. But I think that as you'll find out, they irregardlessly, they complement one another in a number of various instances. Each state has their own, none are exactly the same. State Department of Veterans Affairs never seem to get the full attention or awareness they merit. For example, if you're a Minnesota veteran, would you know that our state runs and operates 5 veteran homes? That our respective state works in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, which provide veteran employment representative staffing in our state workforce centers. We have a student veteran higher education program, a Minnesota GI Bill, war survivors education benefits, military unemployment insurance, SSAP, which is our Veteran Special Needs Grant. We've got a Link Vet Resource Referral Program, and CORE, the Case Management Outreach Referral and Education Program, and those are just to name a few. In many instances, all these additional programs help fill critical gaps from those other programs administered by the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs. So I want to make that distinction. Just as an example in Minnesota of what's being done for veterans unique to Minnesota. Press release dated March 13th of 2012, our governor announced his supplemental fiscal year 13 budget proposal, which included over $915,000 for an expansion of the Veterans GI Bill, $1 million in increased funding for our county veteran service officers, and the governor also gave a commitment for $100,000 in sustained funding for our honor guard services. I'd encourage all our veterans to look into your own State Department of Veterans Affairs. What they have to offer may surprise you. My point is simple. We don't want to forget about our local State Department of Veterans Affairs. They all do some very impressive and important work. I actually at some point hope to feature future guests from our own State Department of Veterans Affairs, as well as our other veteran service organizations, besides the American Legion, the VFW, the DAV, the Purple Heart, Paralyzed Veterans of America, AMVETS, in order to really highlight what we're capable of accomplishing in our own local communities. Before I continue, let me clarify that what I'm providing you in information is not ever going to be all-inclusive. For brevity purposes, I'll be doing my best to share just the high points for now. As with most any federal or state veteran benefits, in many cases, eligibility rules apply. They change, they evolve. Veterans pursuing a particular benefit have a responsibility to themselves to do their homework and to work with an accredited veterans benefits representative, well-versed and trained in the process of applying. Of course, many of them are through your local county veteran service officers and service organizations as well. Now back towards the federal side of veteran benefits. The Veterans Administration is deemed a single entity. One of their slogans is One VA. But contained within the VA are actually 3 distinct departments. First, a very important one, the Veterans Health Administration. The Veterans Health Administration is responsible for more than 13,000 sites of VA-related healthcare matters, including 154 hospitals, 875 community-based outpatient clinics, 136 nursing homes, 43 domiciliary residential treatment programs, and 232 vet centers. The Veterans Health Administration also supports patients in 116 state veteran homes in 48 states. Many of the medical centers have offices with representatives from the various veteran service organizations who are there to assist in a number of capacities ranging from transportation, staffing of our own information and resource offices through our organizations, voluntary services, special national program partnerships, and we also assist with other needs identified that may be unique to the particular facility in which we're located. I should note that the Veterans Health Administration is the largest integrated healthcare system in the United States today. It provides care for over 5 million of our veterans across the country. So that's the Veterans Health Administration. The second department, and an important one, is the Veterans Benefits Administration. The VBA directs the processing of veteran benefit claims. This includes service connection disability compensation, dependency and indemnity compensation, disability and death pension, vocational rehabilitation, education benefits, life insurance, home loan guarantee, adapted housing vehicle grants, burial benefits and flags, among a lot of others. Each state in the country has a local VBA, a regional office. When you begin the process of applying for your earned benefits, and hopefully with the help of an accredited service officer, and we'll talk more about that in detail later, This, in most instances, will be the first office that makes some of the initial decisions on your eligibility and entitlement. And they'll typically do that through an official VA award or a decision letter. Appeals on negative decisions beyond your local state regional office is the BVA, and that office is located out in Washington, D.C. Appeals taken beyond the BVA goes to the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. I'll include that the Court of Appeals is a federal level court independent of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Various veteran service organizations have claim offices located in each of the ROs, as well as out in Washington, D.C. with the BVA. These are specialists in the VA claims and adjudication process and are available to be your claim representative before the RO and BVA, provided you elect them through power of attorney. Third and lastly, the National Cemetery Administration. The National Cemetery Administration provides burial services to veterans and eligible dependents in national, state veterans, and private cemeteries. VA maintains 128 national cemeteries in 39 states and 33 soldier lots and monument sites. Now, they administer the benefits, but the laws that put them in place, the laws and regulations that invoke these benefits, all laws related to veterans' benefits are administered by the VA, have been codified or made into law through Title 38 United States Code titled Veterans Benefits, and are established through our executive branch in Congress. Related regulations issued by our Secretary of Veterans Affairs are contained in Title 38 Code of Federal Regulation, titled Pension, Bonuses, and Veterans Relief. Specific entitlement and eligibility requirement and eligibility criteria for the various benefit programs are set forth in these two volumes. I want to point that out because I know that on occasion veterans get frustrated thinking that, or under the impression that VA can kind of pick and choose veterans as to whether or not they're eligible for a particular benefit that they pursued, when that's really not the case. There is a formal process in place with laws that protect and invoke and basically are there to tell the VA as they adjudicate and make decisions on eligibility, but also do it in a way that protect your rights as a veteran to benefits identified in which you would be found eligible for. There is a process in place. And it's so important to have a service officer or a claim rep designated. Now, of course, through the various veteran service organizations, that's a service we provide at no cost. You've got to invoke it, though. You've got to make that selection through the power of attorney. What that does is it gives your claim representatives, through one of the veteran service organizations, depending on who you choose, the opportunity to act on your behalf to ensure that VA is following the laws and the rules and the regulations that dictate VA benefits. It gives us the ability to act on your behalf to ensure that VA is following their rules that are established and that you're being protected as it relates to that. So I really had wanted to really kind of highlight the structure of the VA. The one other point that I'd like to make is that relative to veterans' health, and that's a very important benefit to so many of our veterans, there is a process, there's a number of different options that a veteran has available to apply for earned health benefits. And it's not a one-time deal. You can apply, if your circumstances change, you can reapply. That never ends. And so you need to be aware of that. And typically a lot of veterans, there's a number of different options in which a veteran can go about applying for veterans' health benefits that I won't get into a whole lot of detail other than there's inlets. Again, confer with your local county veteran service officer or your veteran service organization to get those details. The point that I want to make is that veterans really need to understand, though, that a majority of the various benefits that are made available, in a majority of cases, that is applied for not through the Veterans Health Administration, but through the Veterans Benefits Administration. And I want to emphasize that there are service officers and organizations that are standing by and ready to assist you in the claims process as your representative. Again, that's just a general overview, but I think it's important that our veterans understand a little bit about the structure of the VA because it does come into play and is very much a factor in that claims process. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to our next segment. Thank you.
That was some great information.
Oh, you know, Tom Newman is amazing. I just, every time every time I listen to him, I learn something.
Yep, I got to film his introduction for himself, and it was just one of those things that I was just like, that is really incredible to hear some of that stuff that's coming out, and even some of the stuff that I did know, but I'm getting more updates on. So
I'm amazed, and I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, but it amazes me that there's so much information out there.
yeah.
I mean, and it's really good with having somebody like Tom on the show. I mean, but my question is, and I know Tom's going to address it, Lisa, but we're in Minnesota. How's this going to work for Nebraska or New Jersey? We have shows out there. Is he going to be able to provide that kind of information and the resources for those veterans too?
I believe that's what's going to be able to happen, but why don't we do something, and we've got our mail call program, and we can go to Amanda and have her read our first inquiry.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Amanda with Mail Call, and here we have some wonderful and great questions coming from veterans like yourself, as well as some of the members on this crew. We have an anonymous email from a veteran. How can I access my DD-214 online? Many veterans and the next of kin of deceased military members may now use an online military personnel record system at the National Archives Center. You may find these records for veterans and next of kin in the applications at www.archives.gov. Other individuals may need documentations that must still be completed, like the Form 180, which can be downloaded from this website. And that concludes our mail call for today.
Thanks, Amanda. That was great. You really provide some great information. Lisa, what's going on?
Well, that is the end of our show for this segment.
I don't want it to ever be over.
Well, we'll be back next month.
Yay! Okay.
If you guys have any questions, be sure to email us, and also check out our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you in any capacity. So thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Bye now.